Welcome to Tampa Bay. We buck 'em up when we raise the flag. Fire the cannons and seize the day. The crew's ready, all hands on deck, no parley. Down in Tampa Bay, we buck 'em up. We buck 'em up. We buck 'em up. Down in Tampa Bay, we buck 'em up. We buck 'em up. We buck 'em up. Down in Tampa.
What is up, Bucs Nation? It is February 27th, 2024. You're watching the Loose Cannons podcast. I'm your boy Samer, hanging out as always with my guy, my white stepbrother, Stank Bastard. If you are new to the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. You will not listen, you have to. If you don't, you're going to regret it. So hit that subscribe button right now. I couldn't get the words out. And hit the like button, obviously.
You will not, bro. Hey, you don't hit that subscribe button.
You will not regret it.
You will not.
Anyway, Stanker, some sad news today.
Yeah.
The ugly side of the NFL business. Shaq Barrett, the Buccaneers are set to release him. It will be a June 1st designation. It looks like it might be the end of the Shaq Barrett era. They got to make some room on the cap, and it just makes sense. His production doesn't match what they're paying him, coming off that pretty bad Achilles injury, terrible offseason for him in terms of his family life, just all that stuff. He still came back, he still played, wasn't very productive, and now it looks like we will not have Shaq, at least for now, in the near future.
Yeah, obviously the side of the business that all fans hate. You know, we personally have a relationship with Shaq after what he went through last year. I mean, the Chicago Bear game, I fucking cried, real tears. I feel for the guy. He made a lot of money, so you can't feel for him there. He's definitely was well compensated, but you don't want to see a guy's career end like that, especially here. And I'm hopeful that they figure out a way to bring him back because he's loved in the locker room. I haven't heard a single person say a bad word about Shaq. He's just a good fucking dude. So hopefully they figure out a way to bring him back. If not, I hope he just gets out of the NFC South and we don't have to ever see him, play against us.
He's a big friend of the show, too. Big friend of the show. We've had him on here. We've talked to him and hung out with him outside of the show, outside of football. He's such a cool guy, man. Like, just a very humble human being. When we hang out with him, you would never guess that he was an NFL superstar, a guy who had 19 and a half sacks in one season. Yeah. I believe he holds a record for the Bucs in a single season in that regard. Yep. You would never guess that that's what he did for a living because he was so humble, so down to earth, such a cool dude. And then he kind of took this with grace. He kind of mentioned, they spoke about it at the end of last season. Yep. He understood what may or may not be coming down the pipe. It felt like it was just an understood, hey, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing to get paid what they're going to be paying me. So he understood what was going to happen. And I think the relationship he has with Jason Light, the loyalty that he's shown to them because they gave him the chance that he needed when Denver wouldn't. And he won a Super Bowl here, even though he won one with Denver, but he was an intricate part here, right? So all of that wraps me up into me saying I think there's a possibility that he is back and that he can be part of the locker room, can be rotational, can be a mentor, can kind of be what was the guy he played with, Von Miller, was to him when he was a younger guy coming in. And guys like Yaya and Cansey and whoever they end up drafting, in my opinion, will have something to learn from a guy like that. And he's such a good locker room guy. I agree with you on that. Yeah,
ego-free, man. Just a good human, good person, great family, all around, rooting for the guy. No matter what, whether this is the end or not, rooting for him no matter what. Love the guy. So sucks, man. It sucks. In house, you and I, we have similar issue going on. We've you grow to love each other. There's like a brotherhood, and sometimes business gets in the way, and you got to make some tough decisions. So
Listen, I think you're referring to the elephant in the room here, right? Or the elephant not in the room. No offense there. Okay. Listen, we've got a free agency issue going on of our own. Okay, just like the Bucs are dealing with Mike Evans, and what that contract looks like and may look like, and what it could not be. Got a little something going on right now with us and Papi Latte. Right, Papi Latte is an impending free agent here. We still have a couple weeks to get that tied up, maybe keep him. Well, we're going through. We're trying to get him to match production to value, and that's all I'm going to say on it. The talks are happening. I think they're positive right now. I don't want to say which way, which side has to make more of a sacrifice or not. But I'll say that we're having good discussion right now, and I think we all have an understanding. And the business is a business, right?
Yeah, no, I can see both sides. I don't really get involved in the money side. You're more the business side. From my perspective, Latte, he has a lot of value, aging asset. He's not the youngest, guy in a brown suit out there delivering packages anymore. So a little gray in the beard, but it would be a shame. It'd be a shame if somebody overpaid for him. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do if somebody's like, I'm gonna pay him this amount of money? I can't hate on my brother. But
the hope is if we don't find a way to retain him, is that he is at least not in the division, right? We hope he doesn't become a Panthers podcaster. We hope he doesn't become a Saints podcaster, obviously. Right. That would be a travesty. I don't think I could welcome him back if he were to hit free agency again after being a Saints guy. And hopefully he's not an Atlanta Falcons
and then here locally, bro. Hey, Scott Reynolds, I know where you live, bro. You stay away from Papi Latte. All right, bro?
Yeah, you never know.
You keep your hands off.
You never know how it's going to go down, right? So that's all we're going to say about that. But back to the Shaq Barrett discussion, Stank. Again, not a surprise to us. Everyone kind of knew this was happening. Shaq kind of knew it was happening. Jason Light said this morning that he was really nervous and uneasy about having to have that conversation with a guy like that because of the history that they have. Obviously the story with his daughter passing away last year tragically right before the season and right before training camp, him being able to come off the injury, deal with that, and kind of let football take him away from life, which at that moment pretty much sucked for him. So all that made it a little bit difficult, but he said Shaq made it very easy. He understood the conversation, what it was going to be about, and how it was all going to play out. And I think that's why I have a feeling he will be back in some capacity, in some sort of, maybe it's a one-year deal to just kind of get him back in here and take it, year by year. But now that he is gone, obviously Yaya has earned himself a starting job, right? JTS on the last year of his rookie contract. Where that ends up going, who knows? He could possibly play himself out of no playing time as the season goes on, or he earns playing time, or, they just let him kind of do what he's been doing, and then he's, gone at the end of next year. So with that being said, does this move kind of forecast what the Bucs are going to do at 26? I've been a big guy saying we need to go edge, we need to go edge. Could this be Chop Robinson territory now?
Yeah, I'm a big edging guy. You can never really get where you need to go without a good edge. Nobody wants instant gratification. Sometimes you gotta like hold it there, hold the edge. Put pressure on the opposing team, and you get the release at the end that you really want. You get the prize at the end. So I'm all about edges. I'm all about drafting an edge. I'm all about edging. I'm all about all those things. You can't go wrong with a good edge.
Okay, now, so like I asked you, do you think this, discussion-wise here, do you think this kind of forecasts what the Bucs are going to do? This basically solidifies Bucs are going to go edge at 26? No. I think that was always the plan, regardless of the Shaq scenario, because I think they understand if we can get another guy with Cansey and Vita and another guy opposite of Yaya, we have some real gasoline we're cooking with now. And I think a guy like Chop Robinson comes to mind. Hopefully he slides.
They're forced to fill.
They're not. They're not.
They could get a guy in free agency. They could bring in a veteran. They could roll with the two young guys, and of course you got other guys that don't really get a whole lot of playing time that may have to play a bigger role. You got Anthony Nelson, and then I don't know why his name escapes me.
Watts, JTS,
Marquise Watts, and then the other good guy, Rodriguez. hell is his name? Come on, man. I mean, it's not like we do a Bucs podcast or anything like that. He's got like a Hispanic name, bro. I don't. Somebody in the chat, help me out here. Anyone?
Well, I don't. Did he not play last year? Was he a training camp?
No, actually today in Jose Ramirez. Thank you.
Jose Ramirez.
Are you smoking cigarettes? No, I smoke cigars. Jose Ramirez. Actually, they were talking him up today in the press conferences. How, he's looked really good in practice. He's given some of the guys a hard time. So you never know.
Yeah, but those guys are like lower level draft picks. No offense to those dudes, and they have their place. But I feel like you need a blue chip guy. You need the guy that comes in from the first round, kind of sets the tone day one, becomes, what Yaya became, what Cansey is. Things like, obviously, Cansey's a different position. But here's the thing. Remember, Jason Light, if he needs a corner, he gets one in free agency, and then he gets one in the draft. If he needs a guard, he gets one in free agency, and he gets one in the draft. He kind of hedges his bets, if you want to, kind of make a comparison there. So I fully expect that the Bucs will go and find maybe their next Shaq type of gem. Maybe that kid out of Dallas. There's a kid out of the Texans that will be available. Guys that won't get as much playing time if they stay with the team they're with because they have studs, but guys that show the potential to come in, have a chip on their shoulder, just like Shaq, literally just like Shaq. I put out a tweet, I think, over the weekend that kind of touched on some of those options, but I think they do both. Doesn't mean if they do one or the other. I think they go in free agency, nail somebody, and then go find somebody in the draft. I think the reason Jason does that too, Stank, is if the guy doesn't slide that they want, they have that backup plan with the free agent, right? They had the feeler if they couldn't have gotten, say, Cody Mock or whatever.
You can't have enough good pass rushers. I know it's cliche, but it's the truth. And if you listen to Bowles' press conference today, he was overwhelmingly positive about the team, but said he was disappointed in the four-man rush. Did not like what he saw. We did not get enough pressure with four guys. We got a lot. He liked the pressure with five, but we weren't getting enough pressure with four. And I think we saw that ultimately. Guys have, corners having to cover too long. Sometimes the pass rush not matching up with whatever coverage was called. We just couldn't get there with four, and that limits what you can do as a defense. And so you're probably not wrong. I'm not saying that they're going to definitely draft an edge guy at 26, but there's a high. I think the likelihood is higher now that they've officially moved on from Shaq.
It all depends what happens. I still think they're going to get somebody in free agency, because if the guys that they forecast or have their board, slated to be value at 26 or value at 58, if they're not there, they still have that guy that they can fall back on. Like you said, if you get a stud in free agency and you end up getting a stud in the draft, you find a way to play those guys, because JTS could eventually play himself out of playing time, right? And now you have two guys that can rotate in there. Shaq could be one of those rotational pieces on top of that. You saw it every year. Those guys seem to go down. You can't have enough of those guys. The Giants built championship teams with a guy like Eli Manning at quarterback because they constantly had pass rushers. Tuck, Asi Umanura, a couple other dudes that kind of all rotated. Obviously Strahan. That has to be what the Bucs go with, but it doesn't pigeonhole them into going edge. But I think my honest opinion, my feeling is that it's going to be somebody that comes in like that and immediately creates havoc for the team, an immediate day one type starter. I don't see them. I don't want to take a shot at JTS, but JTS is not that guy, right? JTS was kind of a late first round pick too. Didn't really contribute, but also somebody in the chat, MK, I believe, Samer, do you work at a gas station near AJ? I don't work. Stank, can you explain to them? Can you explain this to them?
You work, bro. He actually thinks you work, bro. Can you not see how soft and supple Samer's skin is? That was, by the way, that was a tongue twister. Through the screen. You think this guy's ever seen a hard day's work, bro? That guy doesn't work. He points a finger, he makes a phone call. If you think he works, I listen, I realize in most people's world, they got to get up in the morning, they got to hit the alarm clock, they got to make themselves breakfast, they got to change their own kids, they got to drive themselves to work. And that's not the same for everybody, all right? It's just not. In reality, some guys' feet never really touch the ground. Sometimes they're carried from a vehicle because they don't want to crease their Jordans. And they're carried to another location by other grown men who have to, that's their job to carry them. Some people just have that life, man. So don't get,
you remember saying,
don't get upset, MK. It's okay. Not everybody has that life. I don't really have that life. I'm blue collar. I'm out there digging ditches every week. You know, as I said on Twitter earlier, I've worked for the FBI for 40 years. You know, doing body, just, I fucking, you know what I do, okay?
Okay. Listen, Sank, do you remember the first time you were carrying me? Yeah. So I wouldn't crease my shoes, and you were barefoot yourself, and the comments that we were getting from the people at the Whole Foods when we were walking through there, and it's like the irony of it is this guy has this guy carrying him because he doesn't want to get his shoes soiled. Meanwhile, the guy carrying him can't even wear shoes. You know, it just the irony, the image was just great. I just thought it was good memory.
That's the day you discovered. Isn't it the day you discovered me?
No, that's not the day I discovered you.
Oh, okay.
The day I found you. You'd been living in the wild for quite a bit, and I found you underneath one of my homes. I thought it was a possum at first, but when the guy pulled you out, you were massive. I mean, like obviously a human-sized creature of sorts. We didn't know exactly what you were until we shaved you down, removed the eyebrows, obviously, and then we're like, oh, I think I can take this one in. I think I can rehab.
Weird thing, I was working on a job site, and somehow I got filled into a hole and never I was stuck under one of your buildings. Let's move on here, okay? There's a disturbance in the chat room. You know, a guy like some people just want to try to ruin your peace and say stupid shit. Like a guy like David Dunn. I'm not logged into the official. I would have already banned you from the chat, David. Why don't you just hush your fucking mouth, sir, and let the grown folks talk? Everybody else can just slap this guy around if you want to, but nobody wants to hear from you, bro. Okay, so just go away.
Yeah. Anyway, listen. Next topic. We kind of touched on it, right? Free agency. Can the Bucs go out and replace Shaq? Find the guy that goes opposite of Yaya in free agency. I really like that guy out of Dallas. I think he learned quite a bit from a guy in Micah Parsons, very similar to Shaq Barrett. He's not going to ever really get to shine in Dallas.
Can we get Micah Parsons?
No, we cannot. But we could get Von Miller, so we went and got Shaq Barrett. Very similar story. Like it feels like if the Bucs can make that guy's number, match up and have him come down here, he can, I think, immediately have impact, fit the system really well. And even if you draft another guy, now you've got a plethora of pass rushers. You guys guys that can teach everyone around them, and you don't have to lean and so heavily put the weight and pressure on that first round pick, and just kind of let them ease themselves in the way Yaya did. Even though he was a second round pick, he got to ease himself into the role. Yeah. And then you have a guy who's kind of been there, done that, and is ready to step up and become that guy. And I think that's who I hope the Bucs can sign. But you never know. The $30 million cap increase, Stank. I mean, it's all basically like Mike Evans coming back, Baker's coming back. This is figuring out the numbers now. And now you have a little bit more wiggle room to go find one of these types of guys in free agency. I don't know if you have a guy or a free agent that you have a crush on.
No, I don't. I don't have any free agent crushes. I trust Jason and the guys to unearth those gems. I mean, nobody was like out there parading because we signed Shaq Barrett. They found that guy. They saw that he had potential, and they went and found him. So, they're going to add a guy in the draft. There's no doubt about it. Whether they do it at 26 or not, they're going to add probably more than one guy because you not only do you have to replace Shaq, but you just never know. JTS, what is that guy? We don't know. Sometimes he looks like he's capable. Sometimes he looks like he doesn't belong on the field. That's an issue, especially when you see what it's supposed to look like with a guy like Yaya who comes right in immediately and makes an impact. So that is probably the biggest question mark now that we've officially moved on.
Well, I think JTS is a really good edge too. Like, he does his job. I think he needs to have someone who's a really good pass rusher opposite of him to take that pressure off of him, take that attention off of him. And he's got to play next to Vita. He's got to play next to Kancey. He's got to have guys that kind of let him play cleanup in a sense. And he plays the run really well. So he's, like I said, he's a very good edge too. Now, are you going to re-sign a guy who's an edge too and doesn't have the capability of getting any better than that? I feel like we've kind of figured out what he is at this point. Or are you going to find someone else who can come in, take over that role, ease himself into it, and then once JTS's contract is over, say thank you, see you later, or maybe comes back as a rotational guy, who knows, because he is young. But now you have that guy kind of sliding in as opposed to doing it next year where you have to go get that edge guy. You got to put that pressure on him. You got to make them figure it out. I feel like this is kind of a good transition to do it with. But and there's a lot of situational pass rushers, Stank. I don't know how many mock drafts you've done, but I've done like 39 now. There's a lot of situational pass rushers in all the rounds of this draft to where you can bring in a guy who just plays on third down or just plays on second and long and obvious passing situations and works on his pass rush skill and his repertoire and things like that, to where, again, you don't have to get a stud. You can kind of build a stud. You can make that guy. I don't like, you touched on Shaq Barrett. No one was talking about Shaq Barrett before Shaq Barrett came to Tampa. So there's guys that can be found. It happens all the time. There's all sorts of guys that people have no idea about who become massive, superstars in the league. So you got to trust Jason and these guys to find that dude, whether it's in the draft, free agency, or both.
Yeah, we're not in position being, at 26 where you can go get the top guy. You wish. Everybody's looking for that guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody wants, the Nick Bosa or TJ Watt or whatever. Everybody wants that kind of impact guy, a game wrecker, a Micah Parsons. That just makes, Todd Bowles' life, that much easier in regards to being able to do crazy shit behind him, because the quarterback really has very, very small amount of time to get the ball out of his hands. We may have found that guy, on the inside. But to add some,
I was gonna say, no one was really talking about Kancey leading up to the draft either, right?
Right.
And he looks like an absolute home run of a pick.
He is. I mean, yeah. I don't think he looks like. I mean, that guy has proven now that he's gonna be a fucking problem, bro. If he can stay healthy and come and have a full camp and just, holy shit, he is a real issue. And I think Vito was working, playing through some injuries last year too. Looked like he played a little heavy to me as well. Maybe because he cut his hair. I don't know what it is, but
no, I think when you get injured too, you can't do as much. You can't move around as much. You tend, if you're that kind of body type, you're going to put on a couple extra pounds. So being injured, having the extra weight, it slows you down on two fronts. And I agree. Listen, I look at it like last season, Stank. No one knew about Kancey except like 3 or 4 people who were Bucs fans at least. And then you watch the tape, you're like, holy shit, they got a steal of a guy. You got to just trust that the Bucs find someone, or that there's a run on quarterbacks early to where the guys that are top edges get, slide down. And then there's another run on wide receivers. You see how it happens. Like if somebody takes a top wide receiver, everyone gets panicky and doesn't want to miss out on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best receiver, so they all start going. There's going to be some offensive linemen that are going to go in the first round. You never know. There's going to be somebody that slides down. Who knows what the medicals do at Combine and in the individual checkups with the teams for a guy like Latu out of UCLA. He could slide. You never know. So there's going to be that guy, and I feel like the Bucs have done such a good job over the last, since Jason's been here, at identifying who those guys are. They stick to their board. They seem to go best player available most of the time, outside of, like, I think Tristan Wirfs was really a need pick, but that was the guy they wanted too. So I think the Bucs are in such a good position, man, to be able to go find that guy. And I think they can. I think they can find that guy. Like Yaya, man. Like, he looks like a freak, but no one was talking about him. Look what he is now. So I feel like the Bucs can find someone like that, whether it's 26 or 58. I really don't think it matters, honestly, because they can find them anywhere.
Yeah, we have the benefit of having guys that have been in the system for a while too, man. We've had continuity. Outside of New Orleans, the rest of our division is starting over again. So they know what they're looking for. Like, Todd has a Super Bowl ring for a reason. That guy knows knows what he's doing. Although we question him sometimes because he plays too much, zone. But he does that because he probably feels like he needs to cover up for certain things, and we're not getting the rush with 4, and we're having to drop other guys because teams are attacking our weaknesses. So he knows what he needs to fix. So he has the ability to be an absolute lunatic, which is what he was known for, right? Doing crazy shit, having a capable second safety would help too. A guy that you could line up anywhere and really bring pressure from all over the place. So, I look forward to that. I think they probably will invest more on the defense. We're going to lose Devin White. We need to replace, our defensive end now. We need to replace the safety. I think it's going to be a defense-heavy draft, but that doesn't mean that we'll go defense at 26. They could go receiver at 26. You just don't know. Ultimately, they're going to go with the guy they think is going to be able to get on the field right away and help.
But I think one of those 2 picks, 26, 58, one of them is going to be an edge rusher, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably.
You never know if there's like a stud defensive lineman that ends up falling, and they're like, listen, we've got the guy that we think is just going to replace Hall, and we're just going to have to figure out what that guy does, and if he's not, we have to we can't pass up on this guy. I've seen moments where there's GMs who just can't pass up on a stud best player available regardless of the need, unless it's like a quarterback. But if you can, draft a guy who's going to be, a blue chip type dude, you have to. You kind of almost have to. So I want to see how that plays out, man. Because listen, Todd, in my opinion, Stank, he has to play zone at times because of the safeties that he has back there. And if he blitzes and has the exotic stuff that he can do with Antoine, he kind of leaves the back end almost exposed, and he doesn't trust his corners at times. And I think sometimes he knows that he can't win one-on-one up front with all of his 3 or 5 guys. Mm-hmm. And so I think the more pieces he can get that allows him to do that, the more multiple he can get, the more aggressive he can be as a play caller. Because I think when he's really comfortable, it's man, maybe cover 2 over the top, and having his safeties kind of be the wild cards back there. When he can't do that, that's when we play zone, and it's picked apart, because they don't draft zone corners, right? Every one of these guys is man press type guy, but he plays them in zone. I feel like he's not stupid. There must be a reason for that. I think it's to protect all the pieces that I don't think he trusts yet. So I agree. It should be a defensive heavy draft, man. Think about it. The offensive side is more talented.
Yeah, especially if we resign Mike and Baker. And from all accounts, it's not like they're giving it all away. It takes 2 to tango. They've said it. It takes both parties wanting to play ball. But I think all signs point to us getting both guys back. And we obviously don't know what we're going to see from Liam and this new offense, but I think it's going to be similar. Hopefully, maybe with a little bit more aggressiveness outside of
Did you watch the press conferences?
I did.
From the combine with Jason and Todd.
I did.
Yeah, it looks.
What was your biggest take away from watching those press conferences?
So there was a name that they mentioned that I thought played well during the season too. I think it was Merriweather, who played safety for the Bucs in different parts of the season, and he played well in my opinion. He was a rookie, kind of an undrafted guy, I think, if I remember correctly, special teams guy, and he started to play safety at some point, and then he got injured, and you didn't see him again. But they mentioned him a couple times. Jason mentioned him, Todd mentioned him, and I feel like they're pretty high on that. And then he also mentioned McCollum by saying, I don't know what position he's going to play yet, but he's going to be on the field. And that tells me that they really value what he does, and they're going to figure out ways to get him on the field regardless of Carlton and Jamel being healthy. And Izzy, what's Izzy going to be? They kind of spoke the same thing about both of those guys. He doesn't know what positions they are yet, but they're going to be on the field. That tells me that they're pretty comfortable with the ability to be multiple with those 2 guys. And Merriweather kind of was the wild card. I didn't expect them to talk about him. That's a guy.
One thing is clear. Izzian is a nickel. I don't know where else they want to try to play. Maybe he does have some outside flexibility, but for a guy to come in off the street and make some splash plays, he wasn't perfect. I'm sure there were plenty of times where he wasn't where he was supposed to be, and learning a new defense and just being
undrafted rookie. Undrafted rookie. Yeah.
I don't think Zion can play nickel. I don't think that's his.
No, I think they're looking at him like. Almost like a third safety. Like if he's going to go 3 safety.
He played some safety.
That's what I'm saying. I think they liked what they saw from him. And then Izzian, he was technically the backup safety as well, and they played him at times. And so having the ability to have guys on the field where you can go from a cover 2 to like some sort of 3 safety look at any sort of audible, to be able to go multiple, be able to take a guy like Antoine, bring him into the box and have him blitz, and still have 2 very capable safeties behind him, and he's almost like a wild linebacker type of role. That's a pretty big deal, man. That's a big deal. And that kind of tells me that maybe they don't draft a safety in the first 2 rounds because they're kind of happy with those guys and how they're going to use them. I was just shocked that he said that about McCollum, because remember what we said about him his rookie year?
Garbage.
Didn't
belong on the football field. But we're not always right, because I said the same thing about Luke Gedeke. And what does he do? He switches to right tackle. Not only does he play well, he played phenomenally. I mean, Tristan gets all the love. We come to find out, they mentioned him or I think it was Jason today mentioned, he was talking about the leaders on the team, the leaders in the locker room. He said Antoine, he said Levante, he said Baker. I think he mentioned Mike. and Tristan,
yeah.
and he mentioned Luke. You know, we got to see a little bit of a glimpse because I think the Bucs did, you know, a mic'd up session with Luke. Luke's a hilarious dude, a shit talker, runs his mouth, and evidently a locker room leader too. So we're not always right here. I mean, most of the time. I don't think you've ever been wrong, but I'm wrong all the time.
I've never been wrong. Yeah.
Latte.
I don't even know what that means.
We're not going to discuss Latte stats right now.
Yeah, we can't do that.
No.
We don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to show all our cards. So, no. Another comment. You hear what Jason Light said? If we get Mike back, Levante back, Baker back, and I think he said Antoine.
He said boat parade.
We're throwing a boat parade, and I'm thinking Super Bowl windows open again. Is that what he's saying there? Is there a little in between the lines type of thing going on here? Is that we found the recipe? Let's go get another boat parade. Is that what he said?
Why not us? Our division is whatever it is. We don't know what it is. So winning the division is attainable, and we saw what we did when we got in the tournament this year. And one thing that Jason made pretty clear is that this team did not have the depth that the 2020 Bucs had. If you really wanted main differences, he didn't say it was the GOAT. He didn't say it was the quarterback play. He said it was depth. We lacked depth. We all knew that he had to bargain basement dollar store shop last year, and that's where it ultimately hurt us. And we stayed fairly healthy, and didn't really, rear its ugly head to the point where it was debilitating. But
I think
certain positions.
I think he said usable depth. He kind of like quantified what he meant by the word depth. And I think he means where you're able to put together packages where you have multiple guys coming in and out, where you can kind of lean on more than just your 11 on each side. And that's a big deal because teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Niners, these guys that are deep playoff run type teams have these special kind of wild ace type players that come in for this type of, package. They come in for this kind of package, having guys that are, like a fullback, but they're really a tight end that can block and they can also catch the ball, and it opens up your ability to kind of be deceptive on offense and obviously on defense, the same type of thing. So I think they're going to add those kind of pieces.
Most of our depth was young, unproven guys.
Rookie, yeah, and undrafted guys too.
I'm thinking he's alluding to the veteran depth, and we had a shit ton of that in 2020, and we had virtually none of that, outside of William Golston, which really wasn't depth. I think he was more of a, rotational guy. Like most of the D linemen get some playing time. I think you
need Aaron Stinney type guys. You just need those dudes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not to start, but you just need those guys to where if something goes wrong, you can slide in a guy who's been there, done that, understands the role, and isn't seeing things for the first time. Aaron Stinney, if you have your guard go down, you slide him in, you're comfortable that he's been there, done that. Shaq Mason was a starter for us, but that's a guy that at this point in his career is one of those types of dudes where if something goes wrong, you plug him in. He's seen 100 games of action. He knows what to do, as opposed to, I don't even know who our backup fucking guards are at this point, the rookies, and throwing guys in like Izzian and Merriweather who haven't seen plays. They're gonna make mistakes, and that kind of costs you in the long run.
What did you think about? They asked about Liam, and Liam wasn't at the combine. And he said he's back kind of doing some install with his guys, things like that. But one thing Jason, I think it was actually Todd, said that he's kind of had an eye on Liam for a while, based on like some of the games he's got to attend, where his son plays at Georgia, and, he was familiar with Liam. Really spoke to, Liam's experience and success with, having a good dominant run game, and then, being behind McVay and being a part of that dynamic pass game. Like, I think that excited him a little bit, but you could just tell like he's jonesing for a successful run game. I don't think we have to be dominant, but just successful where we can, gain some positive yardage on a consistent basis. Versus always being behind the sticks.
The other thing that stood out for when he started talking about that too was he said, if you're not up by 3 scores with 5 minutes left in the game, your offense should still be trying to score.
Yeah.
And so the narrative has always been, he's super conservative. He's not trying to score points. If he's up by 2, he's happy with that. He wants to win 10-7. Like, he kind of he's proven time and time again that that's not real. That's not really how he approaches things. I can't imagine a guy that aggressive on defense wants to be completely the opposite and be a wimp on offense. And so he mentioned that, but he also mentioned knowing when your defense isn't playing well and knowing when you're going to be in a shootout and you have to just go get points as opposed to being. And so he said all these things, and I'm like, so he went and got a guy specifically with those things in mind, thinking I need an aggressive, go light up the scoreboard type of offensive coordinator. And he
think that was a little bit of an underhanded shot at old Dime Piece.
I think so. I mean, it sounded like it. It felt like it. And then for him to say, I've been watching him, I understand what he's about. Yeah. And you could be aggressive and still have a dominant run game like you're talking about, right? The Rams have proven that. The Niners have proven that. They have a dominant run game, but they light up the scoreboard through the air regardless. It's called being efficient, really. So I think I'm excited to see what that ends up looking like. And it feels like to me, because he's hired his actual staff and he hasn't absorbed anybody from BA, and in this case, he hasn't absorbed anybody from Dave Canales. He's gotten to build his entire staff, and I feel like Todd's going to just kind of be hands-off. Like, hey, do your thing. I trust you. We have an understanding of what we need to do. Yeah. Let me see the game plan. Yeah, I don't like this, this, and that. Maybe change this or that. This defense does this a lot. Maybe put in something that beats this kind of thing. And I think he's going to let him kind of run his offense. And I told you guys last show, too, or I told you, this feels like the Bucs are setting up the post-Todd Bowles era by getting this really good offensive staff to where if they lose a piece or two, they have what I think could be the next coach here. They have a passing game coordinator who I think is really good. They have a good running backs coach. They have a very good wide receiver coach now. They have, obviously, Liam, to where it feels like Todd might be slowly figuring out how he's going to go out.
I don't buy that. Listen, if Liam is successful this season, just kind of based on how things have occurred in the NFL, like he could be gone and head coach of a team next season. Like the days of Bruce Arians having to wait 20 years and cutting his teeth to try to get an opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL is over with. If he's hot, he's going to get his opportunity and he's going to leave. And I don't know that Todd is ready to pull the parachute and get out of coaching quite yet. I personally don't gather that. I know there's been some rumblings back there. I know he said certain things, but I don't think that's the case whatsoever.
Well, think about this, Stank. Look, it's a big deal to him to see his son play.
Yeah.
Right? Whether his son makes it to the NFL, he probably knows if there's a good chance or not. And so I don't think he wants to be that guy that misses his kids' games in the final moments of him playing, right? He might be done with football once he's done with college at that point. So I think that's a big deal to him. That's one thing I think that weighs on him and could make that decision easier. But there's nothing that says the Bucs and the Glazers and Jason Light haven't hired Liam, told him to build this staff, and said, we have a handshake agreement. You're the next guy. We need you to be patient, maybe an extra season. I don't know. You never know how it works. It felt like that was happening with the Patriots and McDaniels forever. I've seen other teams that kind of do something similar. No, I know. That's a different scenario. But I feel like it's like, hey, just wait 2 years and it's your deal.
I think
Liam's been a very patient guy. Think about what he's been through. He's gone back and forth between the Rams and Kentucky and the NFL and college. I feel like he can understand the long game, and if he sees a good situation, he's like, I'm not gonna leave a good situation to go to a shit situation. Dave Canales is going from a good situation to a very shitty situation, in my opinion. I don't think Liam is one of those guys. And look at the dude in the Detroit Lions. He's doing the same thing. He's kind of just waiting it out till he gets the right opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I mean, I'm sure that's part of the evaluation process. They look at the guy's potential and think, hey, does he have the potential to do more, to have some mobility in the organization? Quite possibly. It really depends on what the hell we get out of him this year. We can sing his praises and talk about his potential all we want, but it needs to kind of jive with what we see on the field. As much as I didn't like Dave's play calling and it frustrated me at times, he eventually did adapt a little bit. He did towards the end of the season get better at his job and became a little bit more aggressive, more efficient, ultimately led to him getting a job. One thing I found really interesting when they were asking Todd about Liam and like the evaluation process was what was important to him in the interview process. He said that the scheme, and how you coach the scheme and what type of offense you're bringing in is great and everything. But what he pushed the guys on is what happens when that doesn't work. What happens when your scheme fails you? What do you do next? How do you combat, essentially your game plan failing? How do you combat that? And he said
what's your backup plan?
What's your backup plan essentially? And he said that's kind of where Liam shined, which is good. It kind of shows yes, he hasn't necessarily had the reins in the NFL, but for a short period of time, I think calling plays in LA. But on the whiteboard, and imagine you're going up against a head coach who knows how to defeat.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying. You're being tested by a master, and he liked what he heard from him. So encouraging.
You would think that's the way to find a good offensive coordinator, right?
Yeah, right.
If you're a defensive coach, you have that interview. If he says stuff to you that you're like, damn, that is difficult to defend, or man, I could fucking squash that with this, and that. Right. And if they have no response to that, this, and that, you're like, all right, cool, next guy, please. Like, it feels like that's such a good way. And he did hire a guy who ends up getting a fucking head coaching job, right? After 1 year. He gave Sean
Payton credit though. What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know.
I hope you text Todd later and tell him don't ever do that again.
Yeah, don't mention that guy, right?
Don't mention that stupid butthole mouth motherfucker ever again.
Yeah, but I think
him to fail miserably.
I think where Liam is going to start is where Dave Canales left off. I feel like we experienced the ceiling of that year's version of Dave Canales. Could he become better? I don't know. I don't even think he's calling plays in Carolina. I'm not sure how that's. I don't follow him once. Yeah, so I think we're at the lowest starting point will be where Dave Canales kind of left off in terms of the creativity and the ability to call plays and adjust and adapt. That's where we're going to be starting at, and I think we can go up from there.
And don't forget,
that's bare minimum.
Who's still in the building? Like you can gloss over it all you want.
Coach BA, baby.
BA's still in the building. Who else is still in the building, bro? Like you got fucking old Jedis just hanging around the offensive room, bro. You got Tom Moore, our friend. Our really, really good friend Tom Moore.
Yeah.
He's still chilling in the offices. And BA is still chilling in the offices. So it's not like he's, out there with no help. He's got guys in there. And also Dave had those guys in there. And we know that advice wasn't always taken or welcome. We know some, but we know it's being offered. We know that there is guidance for these young coaches from these proven old masters, who we still have floating around the building on the offensive side. And that's something that I think is understated. BA's not gone. Tom's still there, and we may have a whole new offensive coaching staff, but we still have guys who know what it's supposed to look like and who are there to kind of guide and help. And you've got Baker. Baker proved everybody. He proved his doubters wrong, and he proved his supporters right. That guy is a leader. He's a leader. He knows what it's supposed to look like. And the great quarterbacks, they have that, right? They have the ability to step into the driver's seat and regardless of which vehicle they're in, make it work. And he's proven time and time again that that's who he is, despite all the turmoil going on around him, even last year.
He can captivate. You need that guy that can captivate the room he walks into, immediately resonates with the guys. Before I forget, though, to touch on that coaching thing with Liam and the guys that like BA and Tom Moore, he's proven that he will listen to guys who know more than him. He listened to a guy like Sean McVay. He was around a guy like that who, is on the same level of BA when BA was in his prime calling plays. So I feel like having a guy that's very open to that, his dad's a head coach, so he knows how to kind of deal with somebody over his shoulder kind of yapping and giving him advice. He can understand how to take it, how to not take it, how to sift through what, to take and what not to take. So he has a good filter, and I think he's open to that type of criticism from a guy who knows more than him and isn't going to be kind of combative and push back on that. But back to what you said about Baker. Dude, Jason talked about that exact same stuff. He talked about how he understood to go and have lunch or dinner and sit at the table in the cafeteria with the defensive guys and not just sit with your offensive guys. He understood how to introduce himself to the locker room and slowly kind of grow into the locker room to where the guys resonated around him, the guys wanted to be around him. Even the guys like Kyle, who were competing with him at a point, became kind of part of his circle, friends with him, wanted him to be on the team with them. And I think the Bucs had nothing to even hide their intentions today in terms of how they feel about Baker and how they want him to come. There was no posturing at all. It was very transparent. We want Baker back. We're going to figure it out. And Jason said that he feels like they're all in a very good position right now to bring him back.
Yeah, there hasn't really been posturing on either side. I mean, Baker was out there during the Super Bowl, essentially saying that he wants to be back, almost, slipping up and saying he'd do whatever it takes to kind of be back here. And that's really what Jason said today, is like both parties are working hard to get this deal done. They don't, doesn't have to say that. He doesn't. Honestly,
he doesn't. He should not say
he
it.
probably
Honestly.
shouldn't say that, but it just feels like they're all working towards the same goal. And I'm not, they've never misled us before. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get done, but I feel like they're all working hard to get it done. And that's what it takes to get deals like this done. Yes, everybody's probably, turning the screw and holding out for
extra dime or
an extra dime or two. Like you'd be irresponsible as an agent to not do that, to not try to get your guy the most money, while not absolutely, cutting the legs out from the organization. And so that's probably what's going on. And ultimately, I think soon enough we'll get the news, and then we can kind of focus our energy on guys like Levante, and he's as big of a piece of the puzzle.
That's an easy deal. That's an easy deal in my opinion. And for the people asking in the chat, this is one of those collector's cups you get at Ray J. I make it a point to grab 2 collector cups every home game just for me and my kids and whatnot. So I have God knows how many of these stupid things. But
that one was given to you by Mike, right? And he came up into the stands, all the way up to the club section, and handed it to you.
Yeah, actually, I was there during the photo shoot. If we're gonna be straight up about it. But before I forget too, there's another comment that Todd made, which I thought was really interesting too to hear after the fact, after the season's over. He said we kind of weathered the storm. We had 1 or 2 mistakes here or there where the guys kind of ended up costing us games. He actually said that. And he said we could have very easily been 1 or 2 plays away from a 10, 11, or 12 win season.
Yeah.
And like they viewed their team as a 12 win, 11 win type of team, as opposed to what everybody else was looking at them at. And that kind of spoke to the confidence that they had when they went to Detroit, the confidence they had facing the Eagles in that playoff game. Listen, like, from where they started to where they ended, man, that was a big comment for me. It stood out to me. And him saying we could have easily been a 10 or 11 win team. You don't really hear coaches say that because they always say you are what your record says you are, right?
You hear the fan base say that all the time. You can play, most games are won and lost by, whatever, a 6-point margin. It's easy to play that, and we should have been 12 and blah. But, we were definitely better than our record gave us credit for. I don't know. Maybe you are what your record says you are, but clearly we had potential to be better, and we showed that when we trounced the Eagles. Yes, they were circling the drain. Still a ridiculously talented football team. Best team in football for a good.
But we've seen that. How many times have we seen that, Stank? Right. The team that's circling the drain,
yep.
Better talent than us, comes in, usually beats the living crap out of us. We're the get right game most of the time, right?
Yep.
You know that. You have that Bucs PTSD, but if we think about it, man, I think Crown mentioned it too. We were 2 late game mistakes from being an 11-win team. Think about it. We should have won that Atlanta game. We end up giving up that stupid pass to the tight end, ends up becoming a big chunk play. They get the field goal. They walk out of our stadium with a win. And then obviously the Texans, we come all the way back. We end up taking the lead there, and we give it right back on the last play there on that drive. So you're 2 plays away right there. I think the Colts game, another one that we probably should have won that game, had a chance to come back against the Bills.
I hope Todd
one or 2 bounces here or there.
A lot of those were on him.
Yeah, they were. I think
he knows that.
But I think they understand that some of that is the talent forcing him to play out of his comfort zone, and some of it is his comfort zone not forcing his talent to kind of just play to what his scheme should be. And sometimes, man, you get the bad balance. You play, the other team makes a better play. So at the end of it all, say you should be 3 games better, you probably won 1.5 games better, right? But at the end of it all, for him to say that was kind of big for me. For him to mention that we could have been a better team.
Yeah.
And then he mentions how they continue to kind of work through their problems and go through it. But he didn't hesitate to kind of say we had a lot of young guys, and that was sort of why we had to go through that stretch. Which is, I'm pretty confident about this team, man. If we get the certain pieces back, you touched on Levante, man. I feel like that's a pretty easy deal, right?
It is. But let me kind of finish off, where you just left off. It's easy to look back and be like, yeah, we overachieve. Going into the season, none of us really believed we were a 3-win team, but I don't think any of us really thought that we'd be the team that we saw towards the end of the season. I knew that it would be an adjustment year. You lose fucking Tom Brady, bro, and you bring in a guy like Baker who knows what the fuck that guy is, right? and then everything else that went on surrounding it. Yeah, man, how can you not look back and feel like it was a successful season? You didn't win a Super Bowl, so clearly it wasn't as successful as you wanted it to be, but it does prove that everything they say isn't just coach speak. Like, this locker room is full of valuable veterans, a lot of them which have rings, and that's real. That's the environment we still have now moving into season 2 with Baker, hopefully bringing back the guys that are important to continue that continuity as the younger guys learn from them, so the change in the guard doesn't have to be what we've had before, whereas once they leave, it's a fucking 10 decade gap before we're even competitive again. I think that they're trying to avoid those things at all costs, and having a guy like Baker, who's still young, by the way, and having a guy like Tristan and younger guys in there and Antoine, it's those guys mean everything.
You had to have the season the Bucs had this year, right?
Yeah.
You had to have the bridge season. Big. You had to have the building block season. You had to, for two things, you had to show that you can bring in some free agent guys, give them 1 year prove-it deals, and then reward them so that it makes you look better again in the future for free agencies as a destination of, hey, these guys stand by it, they give you a chance, they reward you. And then 2, to go from one era to the next, usually you got to dip and it's terrible, and then you got to rebuild it back up. For them to bridge it, like regardless of we should have been a 3-win team, we should have won 10, 11 games, whatever it was, to finish how they finished, massive, because it's a bridge and it's a building block. So if they don't have that building block, they're in a much different scenario this year. They're probably not bringing back Mike. They're probably not caring if Levante comes back. They're probably looking to draft a quarterback. Doesn't matter what Baker did or didn't do. Completely different now. Now it's like we are halfway there. Now we just got to add pieces, have another good draft, find a couple of role players. It's a completely different approach, and you're kind of like, in 2025, Stank, we're going to have a shit ton of money again to play with, and we're going to have to deal with some more of those free, guys that are going to be impending free agents, but we have guys that we can sign that are real, difference makers and shit, and you're right back in a Super Bowl window possibly. Regardless of Baker being that guy or not, you are still going to be in a Super Bowl window, and if, in my opinion, Baker's one of those guys that if you don't have to make him do everything, you have a chance. If Joe Flacco can win a Super Bowl, a guy like Baker has a chance to win a Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Another nugget I got from the press conferences today was it was right at the beginning. They were asking Jason Light about Trey Palmer. I think they asked both Todd and Jason about Trey Palmer, and both had nothing but great things to say about Trey. Rookie year, probably overachieved, kind of just based on what he did out there. But Jason said, what he brought to the table was speed, and he said we need more speed. And I like to hear that because you can look at the Chiefs offense, you can look at the Dolphins offense, two of the more dynamic offenses out there, and the main difference when you look at a team like us and them is speed.
Fast.
Speed kills, man. We don't have speed. We haven't really had speed, and I think that he knows that. In order to run these offenses where movement matters, and you're able to fool the defense, you need speed or guys that can make them pay. If they're gonna play up and press like the Saints do on us all the time, if you don't have a guy that can consistently make them pay for being overly aggressive, then you get dominated. And I think that they know that. I think Todd knows that. He's not stupid. They didn't reinvent fucking football. They're just doing what makes sense. As stupid as the fucking coach is, as DA is, he's a pretty smart defensive coordinator, and he knows if I do this, they don't really have the tools to beat me in this way, so I'm going to continue to put pressure. So I think that was positive to hear him say that, because I felt like we have really been lacking speed on offense for a while now, honestly.
He mentioned Jarrett, who I think didn't finish the season. He was injured. He was another fast kid. Obviously Tompkins fast. Remember, like, if you're going to run all these crossing routes and these, these level type of routes where you're creating space for these guys, they got to be fast after the catch too. They can't just catch you're not seeing Keyshawn Johnson run a crossing route and burning everybody. So you got to have a guy that can catch that and go. You're trying to create the opportunity for them to catch it and go, like what we saw in the Green Bay Packers game, what we saw against the Eagles and on two totally separate plays when we saw Dave Moore come down from the press box and actually score a touchdown in the game he was calling. So like that, you got to have those guys. And in this day and age with this NFL, if you're able to somehow cheat and get that diagonal run towards the line of scrimmage, which somehow isn't a false start now in motion, that's your fastest player.
Illegal motion.
Yeah, that's your fastest player getting onto that ramp before anyone else. Imagine you're a defensive back, and the guy coming at you already has a 5, 6, 7 yard head start, and he's already fast. So, like, you have almost no chance. If he gets right by, he's gone. And that's the Dolphins exploited teams with that nonsense all year. The Chiefs picked it up. The Niners started copying it. All these other teams started copying that. Puka was doing that all year long with the Rams. Same thing. Yep. Like that, you got to have those guys. And I think Liam's going to bring more of that and emphasis of that. And he understands to use that with Rashad. To be able to take Rashad in motion and have his speed be an advantage on a guy who can catch the ball and play like a wide receiver as a running back, which also Jason Light said he's basically an elite pass catching back. He said that today, which is pretty wild to hear.
He said he's still learning how to be a running back, but he is
he's an elite pass catching back. It showed, and that's with very limited touches in the passing game. He's not hyper focused targets like CMC is, or like a guy like Cooper Kupp, where he's constantly having the ball thrown at him. I know he's a wide receiver, but imagine in an offense where Rashad is kind of featured like a Kamara is, where he's getting multiple touches in the passing game on purpose, intentionally making it to where he can break a run and get you big chunks. That's it, and that's what Liam's going to do, man. So I'm excited about what that's going to all look like, especially if they're going to add more. And there's tons of fast motherfuckers in this draft, dude. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, if college football is doing one thing, it's breeding guys to fit that style of offense, and everybody's trying to do it now. Everybody's trying to do it, and eventually you're going to see, them counter with really the rules are making it easy because you can't be physical on defense and can't hit nobody and can't make guys pay for going over the middle, and so yeah, why not take advantage of it? Everybody else is, so it's just the way it is right now. Everybody in our division's essentially running the same fucking system now, so it's going to be interesting.
It's gonna be a fun division to watch.
Jonas says, "How's grandpa life going, Stank?" It's going great. Yes.
Yeah. Are your nipples sore?
They are, man.
You chafing down there? You getting a lot?
Men don't talk about, the emotional drain that breastfeeding takes on you, and on our next podcast, on the next Buck and Idiots podcast, we're going to cover that. We're going to go into detail. And I hope you guys like and subscribe, Buck and Idiots. We haven't recorded in about a year. But the next one, male lactation and how to deal with that. Don't say damn Stank old as fuck. Tovin, all right?
Pretty old.
Not that old.
Yeah, pretty old. Listen, another reminder, if you guys are still here, hit the like button. I don't know how many people are watching right now, but we should have a ton of likes. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be talking a lot. I feel like we're going to have a busy offseason here. It's going to start ramping up. Combine week this week. So we're going to probably do another show later this week, talk about what people are seeing there, how some guys might be sliding up, sliding down, maybe new guys people are looking at for the Bucs and some mocks, things of that nature. And, of course, got free agency coming up. So we're going to have some fun here, man. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have some fun guests on here.
Hey, Samer, you've been watching the combine, the broadcasting combine for potential replacements for Latte? Because I see it, bro. There's a lot of UPS. There's a lot of former UPS guys out there.
Starts tomorrow. So
barbers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the truck run. That's a big deal for me. That's the ability to be in a UPS truck with a microphone on and do a show with us. I want to see what kind of insight you're going to give me while you're driving. I want to see what you can do with your AirPods on, walking door to door, handing people a little gadget with the signature deal, right? That digital tablet thing, and then still telling me what you think the Bucs should do in the draft, what you think Rashad should do better. I want to see that. I want to hear it.
Samer, is it important for you that they have Spanish children that can sing like songbirds? Is that important? Are you looking for any of that?
It's actually a distraction. As you know, we have a pretty strict set of rules for this show. Yeah. You don't abide by many of them without a whip. But one of those rules at the top of the list, I believe it's since day one. Before we even had a video edition of this show, no Spanish children allowed.
No Spanish children. So you just don't apply if you have Spanish children. That'll help.
Unless you have an iron fist rule over them, and they are definitely not going to be a distraction. But in my opinion, no offense to those Spanish children out there who can sing like angels. I don't want you to have a Spanish child that can sing.
Speaking of Spanish children, I got a pretty good one. Shout out to, you know, one of my Spanish children for getting into the University of Florida.
Yeah. Should have gone to Florida State, but yeah, congrats.
She got into Florida State. She doesn't want to go to that trash school. Sorry.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Matt, a lot of movie stars coming out of there. A lot of dentists and lawyers coming out of there as well. Yep. So just saying.
Great.
What does your Spanish child want to be again? A pharmacist or a nurse?
The president of the United States, the first female president of the United States.
It's not a very well-paying gig.
Do? First thing she's going to do is deport your ass. I can tell you that much.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's right. I said it.
Hey, I provide America with insights on oil. All right? I am a very intricate part of this country.
Thank God, you know, electric cars are taking over.
No, not for long.
Don't act surprised, Jonas. All right? Calm down. We should end this show, I think, right now.
Yeah, let's
right,
hit the like
right
button,
here,
hit the
right now.
button.
Like, subscribe. Not even one super chat. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
It's the off season, and now we just did the show for free. Not $2, not $5. We can't split.
How are we gonna re-sign anybody?
Right. If you want Latte back, y'all didn't give us any money to try to re-sign.
No,
not
happening. This show's like college. Yeah. It's like a college program, right? We need boosters. We're not bringing
Where's B-Shuck, bro?
We're not bringing in better coaches.
Yeah.
Better players. We can't sign Latte to an NIL deal worth a damn if we got no booster money, right? That's just how it works.
You see that kid from Ole Miss getting like a private jet deal? What is happening, bro? Y'all let them ruin college football. That's over.
Yeah.
College football.
There's no rules to it. They just said, here's the NIL thing.
It's over.
No rules. Just do what you want. It's like basically the NCAA has become the Australia of football now. It just there's literally no rules.
It's so
everyone's just running rampant. Anyone can, and they could just switch teams, take other NIL deals for other schools, and just do whatever you want. Follow different coaches, whatever it is, man. It's bullshit.
Listen, imagine you're a guy like Baker. You signed a 1 year, $4 million deal, and you're sitting in the locker room with a college kid who's got a private jet deal and probably, 120 in the bank. Mark Christensen, hold up. You hear it? Did you hear that time?
That was terrible. It was like somebody flattened it.
$1.99, $1.99. The Christensen. Wow. Wait, was that?
That's Sill's husband, yeah.
Oh, that is Sill's. I was gonna say, bro, is that a burner?
No,
because he wants us to sign Christian's son. And that's why he gave us $1.99.
You know what? Don't accept the $1.99, man.
I didn't know his whole government name. Now I do.
What can you buy with $1.99?
2 things at the dollar store.
No, you can't. I think it's $2.07 for that, man, or $2.14.
Wait, the dollar store, everything's $4.91. Whoa!
for latte.
Comes for latte. Hey, don't worry. That'll go right into Latte's bank account. It's like
GRLZZ, girls, I guess, says Saban to replace Devin White. Stank, would you take Nick Saban as your new middle linebacker to replace Devin White?
No.
Wow, I would. I think I'll get more effort and
I'll
get 110%.
I don't hate Devin White.
Crazy.
I don't.
You're
I don't.
crazy.
Sorry, guys. I don't hate Devin White.
Hey, did you see somebody asked Jason Light if the lines of communication are currently open between the Bucs and Devin White?
No,
and he goes, no. we're currently working on some other things right now. I was like, what? Why even ask that question? He's not coming back, guys. He's not coming back. I think they're happy with a subpar athlete who gets better effort.
What's the chances of us seeing Devin White in a Saints uniform next year? Pretty high?
No. I don't think they'd even sign it. I don't think they can, honestly. I think he's going to be a New York Giant. He's going to get paid $4.5 million for 1 year.
I mean, he's a Louisiana kid, got a stable there. I just figured that most of our fan base hates him already. Why not just completely... And they hate him in New Orleans, too. So why not just completely just...
I don't think they can pay him. I don't think they can pay him. I don't know how he's fit in. They have 2 linebackers they like already that they're kind of stuck with, right? So that dude that wears that stupid sleeve to every game like he's in a Pee Wee football league.
You don't even know.
Anyway.
That's how disrespectful you are. You have no idea who that guy is. One of the better linebackers.
Is it DeMario? DeMario Davis? Is that his name? Yeah. Oh, well. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Welcome to Tampa Bay.